I think being present or being in the moment is something a lot of us think about a lot, but
Mhm.
how do you actually practice that, right? How do you
Right.
actually do that? And
Right.
for me, one of the great things about improv is that it makes intangibles like being present very tangible, right?
Okay.
So if we're playing an improv game and doing an improv scene, we have to be present, otherwise we'll be lost.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our goal is to help you live your best audacious life ever. It's always a pleasure to be here sharing insights and inspiration with you, and I genuinely appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us on this journey. Together, we'll explore the paths to personal growth, active engagement, and the power of creativity in our everyday lives. Now, imagine you're in a conversation with a friend, and instead of truly listening, you're distracted by your phone or your own thoughts. It's like trying to catch a butterfly while wearing a blindfold. You're flailing around, but you can't quite grasp what's right in front of you. Being present in conversations and meetings is essential. It's about actively listening and engaging with the moment. Just like in improv, where active listening is crucial, it's a crucial skill, being truly present allows us to respond authentically and build meaningful connections. The yes and principle in improv encourages us to build upon ideas, fostering creativity and collaboration. And when we create a culture of curiosity and support within our teams, we empower each other to share ideas freely, leading to innovative solutions. And when it comes to meetings, making them engaging and participatory transforms them from mundane obligations into opportunities for collaboration and growth. Today, I am excited to introduce our guest, Mr. Andrew Davies. Andrew is an experienced improviser, facilitator, and teacher of over 15 years of experience in using improv to unlock creativity in individuals as well as teams. He's the founder of Audacious Working, a company dedicated to enhancing workplace culture through improv, and also co-founded The Bible Players, which is a Jewish comedy team that uses humor to explore Jewish values and stories. Andrew's expertise in improv makes him an incredibly relevant guest in our discussion today. His insights into the importance of being present, active listening, and fostering a supportive culture can transform not only how we communicate, but how we work together as teams. So now that we've got you all set, let's turn to our conversation with Andrew. Enjoy. Hey, Andrew, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for making the time to be here, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really glad to be here.
That's great to be able to engage in dialogues. And that's probably I say it all the time, that to be able to engage in dialogues that can help people get on this path, or this better path, if you will, is just kind of cool to be a part of. And so, and again, the idea, Andrew, you and I here having a conversation, and our listeners get to eavesdrop on what we're talking about, and they can take from that and good and use themselves. It's kind of a cool thing to be a part of. So yeah, again, I appreciate you for helping me kind of move my mission forward, if you will. And so, one of the things that we share this podcast is really about that individual path that we're all on, right? That best audacious life, and how to get there. But it's not going to be the same for everyone. And whatever obstacles, pitfalls, circumstances are in your path or on your path, and the key really is how you move through them. How do you get to the other side? Because on the other side is kind of where all the greatness lies. And so, again, that's just sort of some of the foundational things that we talk about here. Maybe as a starting point, I can open up the floor and say, ask you to introduce yourself to our audience and talk a little bit of the work that you do and kind of what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Absolutely. So my name's Andrew. I'm an improviser, facilitator, teacher. I've been studying and teaching improv really for about 15 years. And my passion in life is really to use improv as a way to help people unlock the artists within and be their best selves, both as individuals and as teams and as communities. And it's really what I love. And I think my journey to get here was really one of loving comedy, loving the arts from a young age, and it taking, 20 years to realize that that's what I want to do with my life. And that's not just something to do, in my free time.
Right.
I really started when I was a kid, in kindergarten. I was the only one that got to have a line in the school play, the only boy. And I
Okay.
still remember my line. It was, hey, boys can do the can too. And then we all did a kick line of dancing,
There you
which
go.
was fun. And even then, I was already like, boys can be in theater. And then, after high school, really, and college, I really discovered improv in New York City, improv comedy, which is really where I found my love and I think my passion for helping people, for trying to make things better, and my passion for making people laugh and joyous really like came together. And improv was transformative in my personal life, and so I really think it can be transformative for other people too.
Yeah, it's interesting how, yeah, and I'm glad you sort of touched on how it can make a difference in our personal lives. And I think a big part of improv, which it's always resonated for me, is the fact that it's really about being present. And when you can be present in your personal, professional, wherever, that's a good thing. And I wonder if you sort of talk about the significance of being present in improv.
Yeah. So, I think being present or being in the moment is something a lot of us think about a lot, but
Mhm.
how do you actually practice that, right? How do you
Right.
actually do that? And
Right.
for me, one of the great things about improv is that it makes intangibles like being present very tangible, right?
Okay.
So if we're playing an improv game and doing an improv scene, we have to be present. Otherwise, we'll be lost, right? Because we're making it up in the moment, we're making up in the spot. You can't go on auto drive, right? We may be able to drive to our workplace or cook our favorite meal without even really like thinking about it. Just kind of our
Hmm.
hands auto drive go there. But improv really
Right.
forces us to be in the moment, to listen, to take one small step at a time, and be super present. And I think listening is like the number one skill to
Sure.
being present, right? And just being in the moment. And it's so easy in our daily lives to forget that or to slip away or to get ahead of ourselves. And improv really focuses us to be in this moment. One improv teacher I love made the metaphor that doing a scene in improv is like walking on quicksand, and each of you has to put down one brick at a time to kind of make a path so that you don't fall, right? And if you're
Right.
both
Right.
not putting down those bricks, you're just going to fall in the quicksand, and it happens real quickly. Whereas,
Right.
outside of improv, we can go a day in our lives and then get to sleep and realize I wasn't really present today. I just kind of
Yes.
floated
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What I like with that quicksand analogy as well too, it doesn't matter where steps you took before, like it's behind you, right? It's you got to kind of
Right.
move forward. So even if something happened and you missed a cue, let's say hypothetically, it doesn't matter anymore. Let's keep moving forward, right?
Yeah, keep moving forward, and it's very hard for us as human beings to not think about the past and the future all the time, right?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
we
Yep.
think about the
Yeah.
amount of our time we live in either regret or nostalgia, depending on how we're looking back at the past. And in
Yes.
the future, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're thinking 10 steps ahead. To be in this moment seems simple, but is quite hard, right? And I think there's a lot of different ways to approach that. But for me, improv is really practice at being in the moment. It's practice at building something together, listening together, working together. I'm a newish dad, so I have a
Okay.
1 and a 3-year-old. I have two
Okay.
boys,
Yeah.
and I feel like my boys are teaching me how to be present on a new level. I think kids
Yes, they are.
are in the moment so much, painfully so sometimes. They're just so in the moment because for them, there really isn't a past or future. They could have had a great day yesterday, and today they're having a meltdown, and they could be having a meltdown right now, and in 5 minutes they're going to be fine. They're really just in this moment. But for being a parent, I think really improv is amazing because it allows you to listen to your kids, to see where they are right now, not who they were yesterday or tomorrow, but like who they are today, and to work with them that way. So it's sometimes I think all of my improv training has been building to being a dad.
Get you ready for this moment.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. I love it. You talked about listening, and I specifically want to zero on that, and then maybe add a little piece, if you will, because I do think there's some incredible benefits if we can practice active listening on a regular basis. Active listening in the sense is that not only are we hearing, but we're understanding and we're processing the message, and also at the same time showing sort of that genuine kind of interest in care in what's happening. And I think that's part of it. We can embrace those as part of the listening process. I think it can help, and I guess in improv that certainly I can certainly see where it fits there.
Yeah, I think active listening is something that's so important. And another element that feels a little abstract, I think, sometimes. And improv allows us to practice it, in a lot of our games. So one game I love is just called Beastie Rap, inspired by the Beastie Boys, a sort of
Okay.
classic band. And the idea is that you kind of go around in a circle, just making up kind of rhymes and landing on the same word. So you pick a one syllable word like hat. And so you could say like, on my head, there is a hat. Da, 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 da. I don't have a dog, but I have a cat. And you keep going like that. We're making up rhyming words and
Mm,
you try to bring the group in so that everyone can say the rhyming word together, right? So when I said, I don't have a dog, but I have a, like, you knew I was going to say cat just based
right.
on the formulation. And so what I love about that and active listening is that I have to simultaneously be hearing other people trying to realize what rhyme they're going for and thinking of the next one for myself. So doing both
Hmm.
of those at the same time is really like stretching your brain's muscles, stretching them out to be able to be active and be thinking of things while being a great listener. Because if you repeat what someone else said, it's clear you weren't really listening, right? If I
Right.
also said, if three people later they say cat, it's like, oh, you didn't hear it or you weren't listening. So improv really allows us to like try that out and test those things
Hmm.
out and then see how much are we able to do that. It's not every moment of every day, but are
Sure.
we able to next time we're having dinner with our family, are we able to be a better active listener and really hear them while we're thinking of what we want to say?
Yeah, I think of sort of that's like an example of sort of engaged listening, right? Where again you're being fully present and attentive and trying as best we can to avoid the distractions. They are there, they're going to happen, and they're just a function of life. But when you're sort of making a conscious effort to concentrate on the individual speaking and the messages they're relaying to us. And again, I just think that is a wonderful, wonderful way into us being able to communicate. And I wanted to actually bridge into communication because I think improv does a wonderful, wonderful job, and I believe you sort of feel the same too in terms of helping us to communicate better.
Yeah, I think really getting comfortable, making things up, being on the spot, being in the
Yeah.
moment
Hmm.
really helps us to communicate better. And I often tell people, you're improvising all the time. You just don't give yourself credit for it. But when we put the formal name on or play a game, people are often scared to jump in, but they're
Right.
really great. I work with teachers a lot, and I always tell them, I'm like, you are in front of a room of students all day, every day. That is a nightmare to most human beings. And
Yes,
you
it is.
tackle it every day. No reason you should be scared of a little improv. But like one game, for instance, I love where we practice being comfortable communicating, being in front of a group, is a game called Speech, where we're in a circle
Okay.
and we take turns stepping into the middle. And everyone on the outside says speech, speech, speech. And the person in the middle always says the same sentence. They say, I'm sick and tired of, and then they pause because they don't get to decide what the speech is about. The group gets to decide for them. So anyone in the
Okay.
group throws out a suggestion. My only rules are no people or types of people because we're not trying
Okay.
to be mean or
Right.
personal, not even like a celebrity. Like we're not being mean. Really just like objects. So I say, look around the room,
Okay.
like we're
Yep.
sick and tired of cups or light bulbs. And then they have to give three reasons they're sick and tired of light bulbs. They're too shiny, they always break, and they burnt my hand once, right? And everyone gives them a huge
Mm.
round of applause. And so to feel that fear, those butterflies when they first step in the middle, because
Yes.
they have to make up a speech, they don't know what it's about. And then to
Yes.
feel the comfort and excitement that they know they're going to be supported makes them feel like, oh my God, I can do it. And I
Yep.
tell them, like, the next time you're put on the spot, you can talk about it. We didn't even tell you what the speech was going to be about. You had 0 seconds to prepare and
Yes.
you were
Yes.
fine, right? So when you
Yes.
are doing something for work or your life and you did have time to prepare, remind yourself
Exactly.
you're going to be fine. We're going to be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting how, public speaking is a fear for so many people. And I think that exercise where they don't have an opportunity to prepare, where they don't know what the topic is going to be about, they have very little notice and have to go off on that. And I really think, look, I believe everyone's got their comfort zone, that thing that they can talk about for hours, that thing that they love.
Yeah.
Every single one has that thing. And put in the right circumstances or scenarios or environments, you can go on forever and be comfortable with that. So with the exercise, what speaks to me is it allows you to practice that, but with something that you're more comfortable with, or maybe something you had more time to prepare for.
Yeah, and I think for me it's a lot of improv and the world that I want to see and I try to, sort of preach in the programs that I do is really being supportive so that people feel safe to take those risks, right? So that game speech it's ostensibly about the person in the middle, but I always say to groups, it's actually about everyone in the circle. It's about
Gotcha.
everyone in the group applauding for that person so that they know they're going into it feeling supported. And I think that's so true. With all the companies that I work with, I come into teams and I say, if you can make everyone on your team feel like everyone in this circle has your back,
Yep.
you're just going to be able to do so much, right? And support each other. Same with any family, right? Your family's going to have your back. Your friends are going to have your back. Your community, whatever community you're thinking about, if we can create that environment where people are okay experimenting, okay with failing, okay with trying, it'll just make people achieve so much more and be so much happier in their lives.
And I'm curious primarily about the companies, individuals that you primarily work with, when they come knocking on your door, what are they looking to expect you to do, or how are you expecting to help them? Because I would imagine improv, it's kind of off the beaten path a little bit, right? It's probably in the last 15, maybe 20 years old, it's more accepted as a possible outcome, if you are, or a possible method of, helping employees or helping companies or helping teams or groups get together. But I still think and I could be wrong, but I still think it's still fairly new overall. And so I'm just curious, yeah, what that's been for you.
Yeah, so we work with a lot of companies across the spectrum, primarily tech companies and a lot of health
Okay.
tech companies. Some
Okay.
big ones that people know, like Netflix and Meta and Roblox and Pinterest and some more startup companies. And we work on them primarily. We help them with three things. One is really just improv team building, is building trust through like a happy hour. Another is better meetings. I've designed a program on how to make their meetings more participatory, more worthwhile, more efficient, more fun.
Okay. Okay.
And the final thing is onboarding. So, onboarding new employees, new staff to really explore their company values in a hands on way to really bring it to life. So, all of our programs with Artley Working are trying to make stronger teams and happier people through theater and improv.
I do again. Well, it's funny. Like when you think about improv, I think people will think, hey, you want to be a comedian, or you're there to tell jokes, but it's not that at all, is it? It's much more than that.
Yeah, it's much more than that. And the biggest worry that people have is that they say our team is a lot of introverts, right?
Okay.
And I always say improv is for introverts because improv, as we discussed, is all about listening, right? And improv is about being a better listener and thinking
Hmm.
about how to support the team and being in the moment. And it's not that you have to be extroverted, hilarious, over the top personality. If
Right.
you are a great listener, you can be a great member of your team and supporting your team. It's not the loudest person or the craziest person that's the best improviser or the best team member. It's
Right.
it's someone that's helping your team. So I love to work with folks who are scared initially and then realize that they have the capacity to help and the ability to help. And when they need to be able to communicate those ideas, it's important to be able to speak up and share those. If you're someone that's brilliant coming up with brilliant solutions for your company, but you're scared to raise your hand at the meeting, that's a problem for your company, not just for you,
Right.
right? Because they're not
Right.
getting your
Right.
great ideas. So improv is definitely for introverts, and we can help people to kind of unlock, their leadership potential for sure.
I'm curious how. So I'm a little curious about this unlocking process, and because like people come in at different states and different stages and different levels where they're at, and like yeah, can you kind of give some insight what that unlocking process looks like?
Yeah, so when people start our programs, we always tell them like we're not going to ask you to do anything that's going to scare you or put you on the spot. We're just asking you to notice wherever you are right now and just move like one little click. Just like move out of your comfort zone, the tiniest click. So we're not asking you to go from, silent to on the stage hamming it
Right.
up.
Right.
Just
Right.
just just a little bit. Just notice where you are and just move a little click. So for some people, just participating, just walking in is huge and terrifying. And even if they just mumble really quietly, for them, that was huge, right? Other people are more comfortable presenting. It might be a little bit more. They might jump into another game. But I think it's really just about helping people feel safe and supported so they can
Hmm.
try new things. And I think for companies, play on a team really builds trust. And it's easy to say to a team, you all should trust each other. You're all a team. You all should work together. But how to actually build that is hard. And I think improv is a very tangible way to build trust, to do something a little bit scary together and come out of the other side realizing you can do it, you trust each other, you've got each other's back.
And I think that's where leaders can play a really significant role when we talk about the environment to feel safe. The when you look at we look at environments where people aren't comfortable with taking risks or to be courageous, they don't have the courage to jump in the zone. That's where the environment becomes that much more important to say it's okay. And you know what? If you mess up, that's not a problem. If you got it wrong, that's okay. Like it's encouraged, and mistake like environments where mistakes are encouraged really creates an avenue for really boldness to step out.
Yeah, absolutely. It really can come from the top. And I think leaders of teams or leaders of whole organizations, it's important to check in with themselves and think about how might they be helping or hurting without even trying, right? What tone
Mm.
are they setting? Are they shooting down ideas? A lot of people know The American Office, and there's an episode where Michael Scott is improvising, and in every scene that he does, he kind of takes out a gun, imaginary gun, and like shoots the people in the scene and just ruins it. And I say sometimes leaders don't realize it, but they have like Michael Scott syndrome. And what I mean is that they're accidentally shooting down ideas without realizing it, right? Someone suggests something a little bit out of the box, and
Yeah.
even if it's not going to work, they just shoot it down right away, whether it's going to work or not. And that really prevents people from thinking of new ideas, from feeling comfortable bringing
Sure.
things up, rather than saying, oh, that's wild. Tell me more about it, right? Like, even if it's outside the box, like, I think instead of taking our clients to lunch, we should take them to karaoke, right? And your initial reaction might be, well, that's not going to work. That's too loud. That's too crazy. But just to hear it out, just to let the person say, like, why do you think karaoke would be good? Or where would we do that? And if you get like more ideas from your team, you're going to end up with more great ideas and more possibilities. And so I think
Yeah.
improv really invites that. Yeah.
Well, and if you think about the concept of sort of idea generation, right? How many times are you in a room and there's a group of people and someone has an idea and then someone adds and builds on it, right? And then someone builds something on it, and then all of a sudden, where you started isn't where you finished, but where you finish is pretty damn cool, right? And
Right.
that came as a result of everyone building together. That kind of sounds like an improv set to me, if you ask me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if people know anything about improv, they know this idea of kind of yes and, right? Which is saying
Mm,
yes to an idea and building onto it. And it's simple to understand, but hard to do, right? Because in the moment when someone has an idea, our brain can very quickly go to the no, right? Like,
right.
that's too expensive. We tried that last year, it didn't work. There's too many of us to do that, right? There's some reason why we can be a no. And so to challenge ourselves to try everything on, just to try saying yes, try the idea, to get it all out there and brainstorm together. Like you're saying, we can build on each other's ideas, especially in the context of meetings. We talk about this a lot. Is, are your meetings interactive? Are you inviting your team to add on, to participate, to build onto your ideas? Or are your meetings primarily a time to take turns speaking to each other without accepting any response or ideas or feedback, right? And if that's the case, we're not really having a meeting. We're just kind of taking turns speaking, or in the worst case, we're just having a leader monologue for an hour and everyone else sits there silently, which happens a lot too. So if we can take from improv that the whole team can contribute and everyone at your meeting should be able to contribute. And if not, they don't need to be a part of that meeting, right? If you don't actually
Right.
need their
Sure.
contributions, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Well, I think it is. The more, and so we talk about, you oftentimes hear about, diverse, inclusive, and work environments, right? I think the more diverse and inclusive and rich, there's richness in that, because there'll always be someone that has an idea that you never thought of, right? That you didn't consider, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think by being able to share these and understand and hear different perspectives, it allows, again, that richness I talked about, allows it to flourish. And so I'm a big fan of the whole idea of just sharing ideas and getting in a room and what do you got, what do you got, what do you got, and building something special from there. And again, that just sounds like an improv sketch if you really look at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it can and should be fun, right? And it's not that every meeting is going to be a brainstorming session, but I think to make sure you're doing those regularly, at least every month, right? That you're giving a chance for your team to share their new ideas, to move forward, is so important. Yeah.
So this whole thing about people that can't improv because they're introverts, what's that all about? Like people think, well, I'm introvert, I'm shy, I don't want to talk, I can't do this. But I think you can because it's not like the idea of improvisation isn't necessarily getting up on stage. So for example, if you're walking down the street and you see a friend you haven't seen in 30 years, you may engage in a conversation. That conversation isn't going to be scripted. You're not going to have all the lines in advance where you can say, okay, tell me about this. You're probably going to ask, hey, how you doing? And your response will be based on what they give you, right? So it's not limited to those that want to perform and be in front of the audience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think exactly like you said, no matter how introverted we are, there are times when we are excited to see people, whether it's our partner, our friends, and we get that excitement. I think another gift that improv gives us is really inviting us to think about the other people more than we think about ourselves, to think about
Mm,
the group more than ourselves. So when I really get in the zone of improv and I'm feeling the flow, I'm not thinking, how can I be funny? What could I do? It's about me. I'm watching the scene and saying, what would be helpful in this scene? You know what? They're talking about dragons. I think I should fly on the back of the stage just as a dragon and just fly by as a dragon, right? And like support them and help them out. And in the same way, in the improv context in the workplace, if we get out of the idea of thinking, I've got to speak to show how smart I am or to have a brilliant idea, rather, what do they need right now, right? Like, and
right.
it may be as simple as they need someone to say, like, yeah, I second that. I agree with that, right? And that small act could be huge for someone that's got a
Yes.
new idea, but they were nervous to say it. And you're
Yep.
someone that says, like, I love that. I think that's a good idea. So yeah,
Let's do
everyone
it,
can
right?
do it.
Like exactly. And again, the idea of building on is really it's generally exciting to me. So I love the ability to do that. So we've talked about listening and so collaboration, building together, and then taking risks. Um, I can't help but wonder when we add on this how important curiosity is in the improv landscape.
Yeah, I mean, I think staying curious is so important. In improv, you are really trying new things all the time, right? You're
Yeah.
interested and open to new games, new scenes, new stories every time you perform. I was on a musical improv team where we'd get a word every week and make up a new show based on that word. So
Okay.
you have to stay curious about what could come up and what you know and don't know. And I think it also invites you to be more curious in general in the world because you never know when you can use something, like some
Sure.
sport that you're into, some book that you read could become the perfect something for a moment for a character. There's a Jewish piece of wisdom that I love that comes from the rabbis in Pirkei Avot that says, Ezehu chacham halomed mikol adam, which means who is wise? One who learns from every person. And
Ah.
that's a credo I really love to live by because I think if you can stay curious and every person you meet in your life, approach them with the attitude of, I have something to learn from this person, you're just going to keep growing, keep staying curious, never meet someone and say, oh, I get this person's deal. I don't need to talk to
Right.
them. I know them. I've already met an Audley. I get it. You're right. It's like, no, if we come in saying this person is unique, this person
Yes.
has some expertise I don't know about or some passion I don't know about, and I have something to learn. That's really how we grow is approaching everyone that way. And I think improv invites us to notice more and to keep asking people questions to stay curious.
Yeah. What can I take or what can I learn from this experience, this interaction? I think if you walk in sort of every meeting with that,
Yeah.
you will walk away with something.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, walk through our lives in that way and stay curious about our partners that we think we know well, our wives or husbands and our kids, right? Not ever settling for the idea of, oh, I know them, I get them. I figured it out. I don't need to know them anymore, right? But to stay curious and keep learning. Absolutely.
Very cool. Very cool. So Artly working is a piece of what you do. There's a whole other side as well, too, isn't there?
Yeah, so I also started a group I co-founded called the Bible Players, and we are a Jewish comedy team. We say we're improving Jewish lives. So we're using improv and comedy to explore Jewish values and Jewish stories. And so we travel around to schools and camps and synagogues, really using improv and comedy as a way to explore the Jewish values I was raised with and learned growing up.
And how is that received? I think sometimes when you poke fun at yourself or your own culture, sometimes some people love it, and some people go, "What are you doing?" Right? How's that? Curious.
Yeah, we're definitely unique. And so when we come in, people are not sure what to expect. And they see when they do attend our programs that we are really lovingly poking fun at ourselves and some of the ridiculousness in some of our stories and characters while celebrating, I think, the Jewish values that I feel influenced me, that I was raised with, that are so important, you know? And so we focus on ideas like shalom bayit means like peace in our home. And what
Okay.
does that mean to make peace in our home? And so we look at biblical stories where that happens or doesn't happen and what we can learn from it. And then we play improv games to say, how can we try to get along with our siblings better? How can we try to get along with our families better? We call
Gotcha.
it mitzprov because we're doing improv as a way to learn mitzvot, which are kind of Jewish values or commandments. So it's really
Gotcha.
putting our commandments, our values into action through play. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting. And then I love the sort of the cultural component, right? And exploring those values and being able to share and learn at the same time. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we love doing it, and we've been well received in a lot of communities around the country, and been doing it for over 10 years now. So we love it.
Lovely,
Yeah.
lovely. So something you said earlier, I want to kind of go back to because I had
Yeah.
meant to ask you about, it and the conversation went somewhere else. But I wanted to go back. You mentioned you referenced making meetings better, and there's things that can be done. How do you make meetings better?
Yeah, the eternal question. You know, so many friends in more traditional jobs have complained about how they waste entire days with meetings. And
Yes.
as an independent person in my independent business, I'm like, what do you mean? How does that even make sense? But I think we slip into our patterns. We get into these meetings for the sake of having the meeting. And so we help people have better meetings. So the first step really, right, is making sure we're checking in with ourselves and asking, does this meeting need to happen? Who needs to be at this meeting? And that's really giving a purpose to the meeting. So we have like an ABCs of better meetings, which is
Okay.
about um, A is for effective. How do you want people to feel in your meeting? B
Hold
is
on. Effective
behave.
starts with an E there, Andrew.
Well,
Effective. Okay.
affective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's effect and affect. Yeah.
All
So
right.
they're
Okay.
related.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Thank you. Good check on me. Yeah. Yeah. My spelling. The EBCs. No. So, how do we want people to feel? So thinking about, do we want this to be a pick me up meeting? Is the whole point of this to get us excited? Is the point of this meeting to get us scared because we're not meeting our numbers and we need to be a little scared? We need to be motivated, right? The B is behavioral. What do we want people to do during this meeting and after the meeting? And then C is cognitive. What do we want people to know during the meeting and after the meeting? And so we have kind of a template I can share with people, our Better Meetings template. And what's great about it is you can spend hours planning the meeting. You could also just spend 5 minutes planning the meeting. So I often beg team leaders, just take 5 minutes before every meeting starts and check in with this checklist and ask yourself, what are we here for? What's the main purpose? What
Yep.
are we trying to get out of it? How are we going to make it engaging? Do the people need to be here? Because I guarantee you, if you do that 5 minutes before your meeting and realize we don't actually need to have this meeting, no one will be angry at you. If you get to the meeting
Right.
and say, guys,
Right.
let's just hang out for a minute, but I realize we don't need to have this meeting right now. Everyone's doing great. Or
Right.
you might do that 5 minutes of planning and say, you know, we have these people in the room. We actually need these other people in the room because of what we're talking about. So we need to like circle back and get them involved, right? So I don't want it to be all or nothing. Like you can spend a lot of time getting better at this, but you can also just spend just these 5 minutes will really make a difference, I think, in making your meeting more engaging. And the
Mm-hmm.
biggest factor for me in whether your meeting was worthwhile and efficient was it interactive or was it frontal? Right? Were you inviting people to participate and share their ideas or was it all frontal? Because if it was all frontal, there's actually better ways to do that, right? There's emails, you could send a voicemail, a video, a
Right.
Slack message. If it's frontal, it doesn't actually need to be a meeting. A meeting should involve everyone's voice or perspective if that's what we need. Yeah.
Gotcha. And
Yeah.
that's the key. And I think I love the idea of evaluating if this meeting is necessary, because oftentimes people walk out of meetings going, "Why was I here? Right? Why I could have been doing work, but I'm doing here, and I shouldn't have, didn't need to be here." And so I think it's a really good exercise. One last thing I want to ask, and you talked earlier about the improv world. There seems to be a lot of games playing and different ways of, in fun sense. I wonder what you suggest if you're working with a team. What can you do to encourage them to take risks or take chances? What kind of activity or exercise would you come up with?
Totally. So I think it's great to get people's brains going, to just get excited about this. an improv game that I love to play. We talked about speech a little bit, which is one of my favorites. Another one that I love is just the gift giving game where we have to build on each other.
Okay.
And another one, great one for a team is just called like hooray! Oh no! Okay, where we do a storytelling game in a circle. So we go around. One first person has to start the story and say something great that happened, and say, we won $1 million, and they say hooray! Everyone says hooray, and then the next person has to take the story down. So they have to say, but then I put it in my pocket and I lost my pants. Oh no! But then the next person says, but then I found a new pair of pants and they fit me perfectly. Hooray! And so we go up and down, and it really forces us as a team to support each other, to build on each other's ideas, and really listen and build something together. And it's just a great, really simple building game that we can work on. And then challenge them to say, next time we have a problem, we're tackling something together, could we show that same level of support? Like, let's have a brainstorm. People throw out ideas, and after every one, we all go, hooray, right? So it's like, what should we do to get more sales this quarter? No matter what people shout out, we're all going to yell, hooray. We're just going to write it down, even if we're not going to do it. Let's buy a Super Bowl ad. Hooray. Let's text all of our friends about it. Hooray. And just bringing that energy to the brainstorming, I guarantee will make people feel more comfortable throwing out that idea that they may not have. And the 10th idea might be the best one.
There we go. Hooray.
Hooray.
I love it. I love it. Andrew, this is really, really awesome, man. I love the insights. I love the sharing and the concepts you described. And my hope is that listeners who are hearing this understand that so many of these concepts that we've talked about here can really be applicable in our everyday lives, right? And so if you're at that point of maybe point of indecision and you're not sure what to do, right? Certainly, looking to others perhaps for some assistance, and maybe there's some collaborative ideas that can be coming to play that involve some active listening, like we talked about earlier. Taking that risk, taking that chance, taking that step forward is another thing that that we need to be comfortable doing. And so I can see the applicable very, very clearly, and I'm glad that you're able to share these insights. For our listeners that want to learn more about you, connect with you, perhaps work with you, what could we send them?
Yeah, so you can email me, Andrew, at artleyworking.com, ARTLY, or you can go to artleyworking.com/podcasts. And there you can get that free Better Meetings template that I was talking about to improve your meetings starting tomorrow, and to be in touch and get a discount on your first program.
Hey, not a bad idea. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure that those details are also in the show notes below. So again, this has been really cool. A lot of fun, Andrew. I certainly love the energy around the work that you do, but also love the energy that it can create within others. And energy is a very contagious thing, and there's lots of good things that come out of that positive energy. And so to be in that space all the time must be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, Audley. I love it, and thanks for having me. I love your energy and your podcast as well. Thank you.
All the best, my friend, and we'll see you soon.
Take care. Thanks.
Back we are here on the podcast, and much thanks and appreciation goes out to Andrew for being here. In our conversation, Andrew shared valuable insights about the power of being present and the essential role of active listening in both improv and everyday interactions. He highlighted how simple practices like the yes and technique can significantly enhance our creativity and collaboration. I personally loved Andrew's perspective on how improv can help introverts find their voice and contribute meaningfully to conversations. It really is a reminder that each of us has something valuable to share, regardless of our comfort level. And for those interested in connecting with Andrew directly, you can find his contact details in the show notes below. Additionally, Andrew's offering a fantastic free resource. It's a Better Meetings template designed to help you enhance your meetings and make them more engaging and participatory. You can access them and learn more about his work at Audacious Working through the links provided in the show notes below. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, or share if you haven't already done so. Your support helps us continue to grow and spread the message of living audaciously. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.